Welcome to the Riff. Today on the Riff, Justin sits down with Jami Glenn. Yes, they're married. They get to talk about parenting and regulating your body, brain, and beliefs. The fun thing about this episode is how you can easily tell that Jami thinks Justin is brilliant. She laughs at all of his jokes because they're so funny. And I'm pretty sure she loves him more now than before the recording of the podcast. Can you tell that Justin wrote the script for this intro? We hope today is helpful. Thanks for listening.
Riff listeners, my goodness. Last week, I said Jeremy was gone, and he still is. So I know you were hoping that Jeremy would be here. He's not. My name is Justin, and I have my good friend with me, Jami Glenn.
Hi, it's lovely to be here.
She's also my wife.
It's true.
Yeah. So Jeremy, as he was getting ready to take off for beautiful Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Beautiful Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Beautiful.
We didn't know that.
We had no idea.
Yeah, we
actually,
thought he grew up in a cornfield.
A cornfield. I don't know why I thought that, but
it's when you talk with him, you feel like you grew up in a cornfield.
Totally.
Yeah.
Not much going on wherever you were.
But he said, "Hey, while I'm gone, I would love for you to sit down with Jami and walk through a couple of things that she's been talking about, specifically when it comes to parenting." So I guess you have a Facebook account. I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I know. I don't follow.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. No,
you're not on social media though,
right.
so
that's
okay.
why. So
it's
I don't
fine.
take it personal. And if I don't follow you as a listener, don't take it personal. I don't follow anybody.
I don't think anyone does.
Wow. You don't think somebody out there is like, you know who's not following me? Justin Glenn. He's not following me. You don't think anybody out there?
I don't think so.
Wow.
I don't think so.
That's what I love about you, though. You give me the truth.
I'm a truth teller.
Yeah. I mean, even though it's a little bit misconstrued, and I'm sure there are multiple people out there that think that, but that's fine. But he said, hey, get Jami in the seat and walk through some parenting pieces. He was liking what you were posting. So I don't know what you were posting, but I think it was great. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I post things for parents regarding emotional wellness tools. And so it's just like quick tips and tools and scripts that parents can use with their kiddos when there's dysregulation, which just means that there's like a big emotion happening in the household, or there's a behavior that they aren't loving. I post tips about things like that. And that's what I do. I get to work with families with tools and tips.
I love it. So that's what we're going to do. Today we're going to talk about parenting. And if your kids are grown out of the house or teenagers, we haven't done that yet. So I'm sure there's another episode coming.
It's very true. But here's the deal. I think that what's cool about parenting and cool about all of the things that we talk about is that even if you're not a parent, or if you don't have kiddos, young kids in the home, or maybe you're empty nesters, these are just great life tools and tips for just
a husband, a wife,
sure.
a cousin.
Sure.
Yeah.
The workplace.
An in-law.
All of it. Any human interaction.
An acquaintance.
Yeah. It's good.
Niece.
Yeah.
Nephew.
Any of them.
Uncle.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty broad. I'm excited. All right, so let's get in it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I'm interested on what you do. I guess I don't know a ton about it, even though we live together. But I don't follow you on social, but I do walk through everything that you do off of social. Okay, so I do know what you do. It's a joke.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people are laughing. They're like, oh, Justin.
So funny. He's hilarious.
Oh, goodness. But I do want to walk through a couple of those tools and tips and tricks and all this kind of stuff. Because I have actually benefited from it because I live with you. So I've seen these things in action and have walked through some of these with you to see what it really does. And I mean, honestly, it gives you a better sense of self and self-reflection as you go through these things, because they're not just manipulation tools. They're not just like a behavior modification piece. It's not a situation to where you're just saying, oh man, how do I tweak this and tweak that because I don't want to look stupid in public. It really is getting down to the heart and the core issue of what's going on with that kiddo and what's going on with that relationship and ultimately what's going on with you. Because most of the time when the girls are dysregulated, I find that a lot of the times it's because I'm dysregulated. So
yeah, it's so true.
Let's walk through a couple of these. Tell me your favorite. Tell me the one like go-to piece, right, that you work with families and kiddos the most, within relationships, within whatever it is. What's the one thing that you deal with the most?
Yeah. So the number one tool that I tell any and all parents is the tool of co-regulation. And it's like a fancy word, but it literally just means that you are helping your kid get calm because they are borrowing your brain and they're borrowing your nervous system. So you have to get regulated yourself. You cannot fake regulation. So let's say let's say Lily spills milk. And I am automatically, for whatever reason, it has totally triggered me.
Milk's expensive right now.
Milk is really expensive. And
No,
we
I'm with
go
you.
through a lot of it. At our
Yeah,
house.
the girls drink a lot.
Yeah, it's the girls.
Yeah.
I feel like there's really is a problem.
It's not
you
a problem.
drink so
it's
much
not a
milk.
problem. I really like milk.
I understand
Like
that.
a lot.
We go through like 4
I
gallons.
understand that. This is not the space. All right. Okay.
Good. Okay, so they spill said expensive milk. And if I'm triggered, I cannot fake that. I can't be like, it's okay, no big deal, just clean it up. Her sweet little nervous system is actually aligning with mine. So if my heart rate increases, her heart rate increases. If my breath increases, so does hers. So then we've got 2 dysregulated brains and bodies in the moment, and then nothing goes, like from that moment on, nothing else goes well. So the number one tool for parents is actually to regulate yourself, which kind of feels like a ninja move, like it's like, wait a
I've
second.
never been a ninja, so I don't know.
I came to you
Did
for
you get
help.
that joke?
I did,
Yeah.
and it was
All right.
hilarious.
Thank you.
A lot of times parents will come and obviously there's a behavior that's happening in their house that they want to quote unquote fix. But really the work is that foundational piece is that we as adults, as a fully developed brain, our kids' brains don't develop until like the mid-20s. So up until that point, they are really needing to borrow our brain in a lot of different ways. And so we've got to get regulated so that we can help their brain and body get regulated in the moment.
That's great. And I mean, I feel like that's just general life advice as well, right? I mean, you think about in a workplace, you think about in any kind of setting to where the one that is going to be the most emotional or hysterical or like they are the ones that are usually the loudest and that are setting the tone for the room.
That's
right?
exactly right. Yeah.
So it's just an interesting piece. All right. So when you talk about regulating yourself, what does that look like?
Okay. So I always talk about the bees behind every behavior. And this is like across the board.
Can I tell the story?
Please.
The bees behind every behavior.
Oh,
and I'm going to see if the
you
listeners
guys.
agree with me. Okay.
Yeah, please. Let's do this. Let's take it for a vote.
I don't know if that's an option, but I'm going to guess the vote is yes. Okay. So Jami has this bees of behavior, and we were going through this this kind of class piece with a bunch of families, and she was wanting a name for it.
Mm-hmm. I was wanting a name for it. And
were
I was
wanting
really,
a name.
man, I was stuck on it for a while. And you were, well, no. Until you came up with, do you want to go ahead and say it? Drum roll, please. Go for it.
The bee's knees.
Yeah. So now everyone that's listening is like, okay, cool. What does that mean? So like
It's so
a
intriguing.
good workshop title will kind of tell you what you're going to learn.
Well, I just
so if I'm
don't
like,
agree
hey
that
guys, the
that's-
bee's knees workshop, everyone's going to be like, what is that?
Everybody wants to be a part of the bee's knees.
Nobody does.
What, Nike? You think everybody saw Nike and was like, oh, shoes? No, Nike had to come out and say, this is a shoe. This is great. You're going to want to put it on your feet. Nike doesn't mean shoe.
I don't know that that's
right?
the origin story of
You
Nike.
don't think so?
I don't think so.
That's a great book, actually.
Okay,
Phil Knight.
so let's
Shoe
get
Dog.
back
Have you read
on-
that?
No,
It's a
but you
great
have, and
book.
you loved it.
I love that book.
It's a great leadership book, right?
Yeah.
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 Great.
Keep going.
Okay, so the
Bee's knees. The bee's knees.
behind
The bee's knees.
every behavior.
Just say it. The bee's knees. Just
The
say
bee's
it.
knees.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so it's the brain, the body, and the beliefs.
Brain, body,
Beliefs. Beliefs is not like religious beliefs. It's the thoughts that are on repeat
Okay.
in our brains.
So,
all of
what
us.
do you, belief about you? Belief about
Belief
something
about
else,
anything.
whatever it is, right?
I'll give you a quick example.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say that we moved to Springfield and my first interaction, like I go to Target to get the cleaning supplies for our apartment, right? And everyone that I run into is like super helpful. And my thought is, wow, everyone's so kind here, right? And then maybe I go to Lowe's for like landscaping and then the manager comes over and is like, hey, how can I help you? And again, I think, gosh, everyone is so helpful here. That thought, it gets on repeat. And then all of a sudden it's a belief that everyone in Springfield's super kind or Springfield's a great place to live. That's how beliefs are formed. They're just thoughts on repeat.
Okay.
So that's what when I'm talking about the beliefs, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about the thoughts that are on repeat. So, that's the foundation for everything. So I like to think of it like an apple tree. Okay. So the apples are like the behaviors that we see, our own behaviors as adults, our kids' behaviors, maybe
These
our
outward pieces, right?
exactly
That everyone can see.
Exactly.
It's the
Everybody can
apple
see
on the
these
tree.
behaviors.
Got
Exactly.
it.
It's the apple on the tree. If specifically, if as a parent, if I am so focused on pulling out the quote unquote bad apples, so like that behavior I don't like, that behavior I don't like, I'm so focused on pulling out those apples off of the tree, then I'm exhausted because I'm going to be pulling apples for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to get to the root of the matter, and the root are those 3 B's. There's a 4th B, biology, but I don't go deep into that with kiddos because it's pretty abstract.
There's a 4th B?
There's a 4th B. Did
I
you
didn't
not know
there
that?
was a 4th B.
Babe, yeah, there's a 4th B. It's biology.
No. Are you kidding me?
You've read the book that I'm talking about. It Didn't Start With You.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, It Didn't Start With You. Yeah, that book is really good about that 4th B. It is a really, really deep book, and it can be triggering to people though. So if you do have trauma, you might not want to read that, or read that with a counselor or a support system. But that biology is fascinating because research shows that our traumatic events are actually passed down within 3 generations. Right. So it's like literally in our DNA, which is just fascinating. But you can see why I wouldn't like talk to kids about that because that's pretty abstract.
Okay, so beliefs, body and brain
Yes.
are the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
Okay, so as far as like parents go, like
Yeah, when you talk
Yeah.
about like
Yeah.
you're in the bee's knees, right? You're in bee's knees. You're talking about it.
Sure.
And people are like, man, what
Yeah.
are bee's knees?
totally.
And then you talk about body. You talk about brain. What are you talking about?
Okay, so with the brain, we talk about the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. This is Dr. Dan Siegel. If you're a parent, any of
Do you
his
think
books,
he's listening?
I bet so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, thanks for
Hey
listening.
Dan, thanks
Yeah.
so much. I think it's like Dr. Siegel.
Oh, sorry, Dr.
I don't
Dan.
think he
Sorry,
answers
Dr.
to Dan.
Sorry, Dr. Siegel.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So we talk about the brain and how there's an upstairs brain and a downstairs brain. And when our kiddos are in their downstairs brain, that is when they're like truly throwing a fit. Their amygdala, which is their fight, flight, or freeze, function in their brain, when that is highlighted, and that's, like we call it a watchdog, like for DC Academy students and the families that I work with, it's like a watchdog, and it's looking for real or perceived danger. And that's where parents, we get not in trouble, but we kind of get off course because we might know that our kid is totally safe. Our kid is not in any danger, but to them, so like if you're in Walmart and your kid wants a toy and you say no, for me as a parent with a fully developed brain, I'm like, that's not a big deal. Like it's not a big, you're going to get a toy. It's your birthday next month. You're going to get that exact toy actually next month. But our kid, their amygdala might see that as perceived danger of like, what? We're not going to get the toy. And then it's fight, flight, or freeze depending on your kiddo. And so if I don't know that as a parent, I am going to come at that totally differently. I'm going to coach that situation completely differently, rather than if I know about there's a downstairs brain and an upstairs brain, and then how do I get my kid regulated? How do I get that brain to be fully integrated so that I can actually help my kid through this moment?
How do you do that?
Well, you validate first. You always validate. And so, gosh, I see that you're having a really hard time, or I see that you're so angry. Validate
Thank you.
does not
No,
mean...
I felt validated right there.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you feel validated in our marriage when we have conflict?
I do. You validate me well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So validation does not mean I agree with it.
Okay.
I don't have to say, yeah, you're right. You should be upset
Well, then
with
I've
me.
been taking our arguments much differently because I feel like you agree with me when you're validating.
Really?
Yeah. So this is
Well, then that's your beliefs.
Eye-opening.
Yeah.
Eye-opening.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So you validate first. You always validate, which, gosh, I see that you're really upset. Okay. And let's take some deep breaths. The breathing, listen, breathing is, everyone harps on deep breath, belly breath. And I think people are getting really tired of hearing it, but
it is a game changer.
it's a game changer.
Yeah, I know.
You're being serious, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. It is a game
yes.
changer.
Yeah, there will be moments I don't know what to do with Lily or what to do with Ella. And then I'll just start breathing myself, and then I'll just say, take some breaths with me. And it changes everything.
Yeah.
It does. It really
and here's
does.
the reason why I find that it's really helpful for families to know what is actually happening. 99% of the time, we are breathing from our like up lungs. Okay. High chest is where we're breathing. Okay. When we're breathing up there, we are actually sending like a text message to our amygdala that we need to be on alert. Because think about it. If you go into
and
fight,
that's the body piece, right?
That's the body piece. Yeah, exactly. And it's so intertwined.
Of the bee's knees.
Okay. Of the bee's
You know
knees.
what? Jeremy's not here. So I feel like I could title this whole podcast Bee's Knees, right? Like the episode. I don't know. No, I won't do that.
Oh, great.
But I just had that thought. So I thought I'd let you know that it's going to happen at some point. We're going to call it Bee's Knees, but keep going.
Thanks. Okay. So see, I lost track of what I was saying.
Body, breathing.
Breathing. Thank you.
There you go.
Deep breathing. So it's like we're sending a text message. Our body is sending a text message to our amygdala, like you need to be on alert because I'm breathing from up high in my chest. If you think about fight, flight, or freeze, like if I'm like running away from somebody, how am I breathing? I'm breathing up high from my chest. So if I can really work on it, and I say work on it because it's a skill, you have to retrain your body to actually like inflate, like your belly inflates like a balloon. As soon as you do that, it sends a text message to your amygdala of like, okay, wait, she's breathing from her belly, so we must be okay. So that's why belly breathing is after co-regulation, after getting your own brain and body regulated, deep breathing is the number one essential tool that I teach every single kiddo. A really great way to do that is have them, depending on their age, you can have them lay down because practicing it during the day is... Don't practice it when they actually need it. Okay. So I always call like the tantrums or the meltdowns, that's game time. Game time is not the time to practice belly breathing because their amygdala is on alert.
Right.
They're not going to want to practice it. They're going to be like, no, I'm not going to belly breathe. So you have them lay down and put a stuffed animal on their belly. And the stuffed animal, that's how they practice. The stuffed animal should rise and fall if they're belly breathing correctly.
I go to sleep every night.
So weird. It's accurate. Their belly should rise and fall. And that's like the pregame warm up so that you do that enough times. And I always tell families do at least 10 deep belly breaths as a family once a day so that it becomes muscle memory so that when your kid is like their lid is flipped, then you can say, hey, take a deep belly breath. And it's not, their amygdala is not going to sense that as danger because it's muscle memory.
That's good. Give me something practical, just something.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this, and especially like I've been through classes with you and watched you work with families, and it's a process. It's not just like this. I'm going to read a book or I'm going to read a paragraph. Or I'm going to read one of your posts, and everything's going to be great, right? So understanding that's a process. Where does somebody start with that, right? If there's a parent or there's somebody in a relationship like that that just feels overwhelmed, right? And it just feels like they're completely engulfed in this like chaos, right? What's something practical that they could do?
Yeah, there's so many different ways, but I think first and foremost is that acknowledging how difficult parenting is right now in this world. It is, I mean, it's just astronomical, all of the things that we have to think about as parents. And so starting there with compassion of just like, okay, this is really hard, and always follow up with an and who are some people, who are some resources that I can come around me or come alongside me and help me in this journey. I think one of the main reasons that parenting is so difficult is right now is because it's no longer like that village mentality. A lot of us live very like in our nuclear homes with just like the parents and the kiddos, and it can feel really lonely and isolating. And so if you can find like, a counselor, counseling, no one needs a counselor, but everybody deserves one. And I truly believe that.
I've always said that.
You have. You made a t-shirt that said it.
I did. It says that on the front and the back. I know.
He didn't make a t-shirt. But yeah, everyone deserves a good counselor. Yeah. And so You don't need to do this alone. And also the other thing that I want to say about counseling is that I have found that a lot of people think that counseling or coaching is like this lifetime investment. And it really isn't. You and I have done marriage counseling before, where we have a problem. We go to a marriage counselor for 3 or 4 sessions, and then we're like back on track. So counseling can be that way. And so can coaching. Like it can just be like, okay, listen, I just need like a maintenance thing here. Like there's a specific problem I'm having, and they can get you back on track. And then, you know, a couple of years later, you might call them again and be like, you know what? I need that little tune up again. Great. Counseling does not have to be like a full lifelong commitment. So counseling for sure. And then community. I think for you and I, that's been huge for us. When we struggle as a family, it is typically because we go to work and then come home and then we're just at home and we are not intentional about building community around us. Having other adults around you, just to not even do life with, but just to have conversations and hear what's going on with, you know, another family. It just helps. That community helps you feel so much less alone, because you don't have to be alone. You don't have to do it alone. And it can feel very, very lonely sometimes.
It's interesting, just through this podcast, through the Riff. I mean, there's so many people that are on, or conversations that Jeremy and I have, that harp on this idea of community and the importance of it. And what's so interesting is that we have this tendency to stiff arm community, for whatever reason that is. And I don't know. I mean, I have that tendency as well, especially like when we are invited to go somewhere or get in a group or all of this stuff. My initial thought is like, I don't have time. But man, it's just so crucial. I mean, to everything, right? We're talking about parenting today. We're talking about spiritual formation. Last week, Preston brought community up. Anything that you're in, it always is like, yeah, but don't do it alone, right? And then in social media world, right, you feel like you're not doing it alone, but I personally don't feel like that's like what you're actually built to, like look in someone's eyes and be able to cry with someone or laugh with someone in space, right? Like, it's just interesting. It's very, very interesting on that.
Well, and I think that ties in really, really well. It's like you've done this before, this interview process, because you've like tying it in really well, because that is the community piece.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to bee's knees. And how that is.
It goes back to the body and the brain.
It does go back to the bee's knees. James. Oh, yes.
It goes back to the body and the brain, and how we literally are wired, like from a physiological sense. We are wired to connect. My daughter's literal heartbeat will align to my heartbeat. We are created for connection. We just are. And so then when we aren't intentionally connecting, our nervous system feels it, our brain feels it, our beliefs feel it. We get stuck in a rut. The best thing about community is that it's a mirror for us. It's a reflection for you, right? Like I can bounce an idea off and be like, okay, listen, this is what I've been thinking lately. Is that just crazy? And a good friend can be like, yeah, that is crazy. You are such a good mom, or whatever it is, right? It's a great mirror. And so that's my number one. I hope that people aren't like, oh my gosh, they always go back to community, but it is. It's so foundational.
You're church. You should probably go to church and be in community. You're church. Yeah, you're a church. But yeah, and hopefully, I mean, the audience that we're speaking to is majority North Pointers, yes. But even like when you read literature or you read any kind of writing or research, it also talks about the power of community, right? So you talk about a book like Sapiens, which is a phenomenal read, not from a Christian perspective, but what he's doing in that book is he's talking about how through this whole process, we became tribal, right? And we became this being that needed community, and then we become this being that feels like our tribe is better than your tribe, which creates factions and wars and all this kind of stuff, right? Which you look at church, it's the same thing, right? And then people are like, I don't want to be part of that community. They're hypocrites. Yes, it can get to that. The beauty of it is that we're built for one another. Like there is this interconnectivity that we are lacking if we don't have it. So it's not just a church thing. It's not just a religious. It's a spiritual thing. Everything's spiritual, right? There's no. It's all over, right? So So if you're not in a group, get in one. That's what we're saying.
Yeah,
Just join
it was a
JXP
really
group.
long conversation to say, get in a group. That's right.
If you're not serving, find a serve group, right? Like just meet people. But it's true. Like if you're coming to North Point and you have been for a bit and you feel alone, you don't have to. And North Point's a great place to feel anonymous. It really is. And there's a season for that. To be anonymous, to sit in the back. Jeremy always says that. I want you to be anonymous if you need to be. I just need you to know that you're known and you're needed, right? Like there'll be a moment where you don't feel like you need to be anonymous anymore. And hopefully North Point is eyes open enough to notice those people that are walking in.
Yeah.
As a tangent. Sorry about that.
No, it's great.
Yeah. Bring you back to the bee's knees.
Wow. That's our anchor here.
It really is. It really is.
You actually asked me on here so that's what you could do.
Actually, this is a manipulation piece right here where I was like, Jeremy,
fascinating.
what if I planted the seed in his mind? He said yes. I've been planning this for 1.5 years and it's...
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
All right. One other thing. When we're talking about parents, we're talking about different relationships, these practical things, all that kind of stuff. What's the hardest thing to get through when you're coaching these families? What's like a tool or a tip, right, that you've got in your toolbox? What's the hardest thing for them to grasp? Meaning, not necessarily what's the practicality, like what's the hardest practical thing to do, but what's the hardest maybe belief that people have to let go of, or what's the hardest part of this process?
That's a good question.
Thank you very much.
I almost every time it will come up in my work with a family, one of the parents will say, I don't think I can do this. They'll say like, I don't think I can parent this behavior. I don't think I can parent this kid. I don't know what I'm doing. And that belief keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in that cycle, that loop of, so then whatever I see my kid do, if that is my default soundtrack in my brain, I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. Like I can't help her. That doesn't give you forward momentum. And so here's what I say to parents like that. First off, I give them like a pretty hardcore pep talk, because you have that kid for a reason, right? Like, I mean, I know that we come from, a Christian background, but I firmly believe that each of us are given the kid that we're given for a very specific reason. And you might not have the resources yet, and you might not have the skills yet, but you absolutely are the parent for that kid for a reason. So that's number one, that's that pep talk. And then the other thing is that I talk a lot about, choose a thought that feels good. Okay, which can sound really happy clappy, right? Like some people are like, oh my gosh, she's going to talk about choose happy thoughts and everything will be fine. But here's the deal, okay? We have those thoughts that are on repeat. If my soundtrack all day long is, I'm a crappy mom, or I don't know how to handle this. If that's my soundtrack, my brain is literally wired to find evidence for that. Right? That's what it does. Our brain is just a pattern-making evidence machine. So when I have the belief that I'm a crappy mom or I don't know what I'm doing, then my brain is like, oh, great. Okay, that's the task. I'm going to go find evidence that I'm a bad mom and I don't know what I'm doing. So choosing a different thought, choose a new soundtrack, choose a thought that feels good. That doesn't mean that I now am like, okay, I'm the best mom ever. No. That's not a thought that feels good, because I feel like that's a lie. So then my amygdala is going to go off because it's like, wait, warning, we're lying, right? So I think of it like a ladder, okay? So if you are on the bottom rung and your thought is, I'm a bad mom, or I don't know how to parent this kid, or I cannot do this. Parenting, at work, in marriage, whatever it is, what is the next rung of the thought? What's like a neutral thought? Maybe my neutral thought is, I'm doing the best I can right now. That's not really positive or negative. It's just neutral. Like, it's just like, okay, I'm doing the best I can right now. That thought feels much better in my brain than I'm a really bad mom. So that's what I would say. Start with the beliefs, because that's going to be the lifelong work. It's not a quick fix, because that's how neural pathways, like if you're 35, you've had 3 decades on this earth of, the same
3.5
beliefs.
decades. I
Thank
wasn't
you.
a math major, but yeah. No, I wasn't a math major.
You really were not a math major.
Do you remember when we celebrated?
Your D minus.
Yeah.
I do remember. And I'm telling you, I was so relieved that you got that D minus because you were going to have to take it again and we were going to have to pay for it.
Yeah. No, it was.
We went and ate.
That's called a pass.
We ate
Oh,
Applebee's
like
that night.
kings
Yeah, we ate like
and
kings that night and we
queens. It was
celebrated. Anyways, you've had 3 decades or whatever.
3.5. Yeah.
3.5 decades of just neural pathway building, right? And so that is a rut. That's your automatic belief. My automatic thought is that. So it takes a while to create a new neural pathway. A lot of research says 90 days. So that means that I'm choosing that I'm aware of the thought. So the thought is, I'm a bad mom. It comes up in my brain. I am aware of it. Oh, there's that thought again. I am a mom who's trying her very best. And I'm creating a new neural pathway.
That's great. That's good stuff, James.
Oh, thanks.
That's really good.
I
I'm not just
appreciate
saying that because you're my wife.
You kind of are.
Yeah, I know.
But I still appreciate it. I'll take it.
Well, thank you for being here and thank you for walking through all of this. And thanks for being a good mom. I really appreciate that.
You are so sweet.
Yeah, that's so well, it's true.
Thank
so I really
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
And it's fun to have you on here. And
It is always fun.
yeah, I mean, it's a little bit weird because we just talk with each other, a lot. Just using
It's
that with
kind of like
microphones.
a date, actually.
Right?
I was kind of hoping you were going to bring me an architect drink,
Yeah, I did.
and you didn't.
No, I did.
I'm
Did you not get it
looking-
when you walked in?
I'm looking everywhere, and I see no coffee.
It should have been.
This could have been our date for the week.
No, it was. I got you one. Did you not get it?
I didn't
That's
get it.
weird. Yeah. Well, people at the studio, they steal stuff
Can't
all the time
trust
like
them.
that. Everybody's at Trey Miller. I'm telling you,
He's the
you
worst.
got coffee. That guy is going to take it.
Just chug it.
I've never had a coffee at the studio and it's not been drank by him.
How many people are still listening, do you think? Do you think
Oh,
your Belgium listeners are
they're-
still listening right now?
Okay. Listen.
Oh, that's right.
I haven't told anybody but you. And I haven't even told Jeremy this. So
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry to bring it up, you guys. I'm
It's-
so sorry to end on a low note.
we lost all of our Belgium listeners. So
do you know which episode? Because you must have said something
I
that
don't
really made
there's
them mad.
nothing that we would have said that made them
Yeah,
mad.
surely.
There's-
You're never offensive, ever.
I don't know how or why or when, but all 3 of them stopped listening at some point. So
All 3?
Yeah.
Same time?
I don't know if it was at the same time. Last time I looked at the data, it was a 0. It was a 0. We
I'm
didn't
really
have a
sorry.
pin in that place.
Did
but
you
I'm-
mourn that? You got to feel it to heal it.
I did
Did
mourn
you mourn
it.
it?
I did mourn it. Yeah, it's fine. I mourned it. Whatever. But here's what helped.
Tell me.
We got a new listenership.
Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious.
Where is it?
Hello, Venezuela. Yeah, that's right. And they love it when I say it like that. Venezuela.
Oh, and now you've lost them.
I haven't
Babe,
lost it.
that's-
They love it when I do that. They love it. So I think there were 4. So that's
Wow.
even bigger than Belgium. And we were huge in Belgium.
You are.
So I just feel like when Jeremy gets back, he's going to have a pep in his step. Even
Okay.
though he lost Belgium, he gained Venezuela, right? And that's,
It's a big win.
I love Belgium, but
Totally.
Venezuela,
Feels good.
come on,
Feels good.
right?
Yeah.
Their music, their
Music.
weather, their all of it.
To be fair, we've never been to Venezuela.
No. But if anyone is listening and would like to bring us out, the answer is yes. A couple stipulations we'll have, but mostly, yeah, we're interested in at least the conversation. Jamie, thanks for being on here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Riff, we'll see you next week. And we'll see Jeremy next week. My goodness. See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.